the point back over to
Gonna kill everybody.
Oh! Okay,
Baker may be in trouble here. Deathmark tries to clean up. Baker, what was that?
Liquid are doing it. They're gonna
Team
take
Liquid.
it.
Good evening and welcome to Late Nights, the Explosion Network's esports news show right here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network every Wednesday at 7 PM Australian Eastern Daylight Time. I'm your host, Ciaran Marchant, and welcome to another fantastic week of esports news. Let's hope this week isn't a total clusterfuck of a show like last week's was, where it had to end a bit early because it was just all over the place. It was just ruined. Welcome to the show. This is our weekly esports news show where we go over all the latest esports news, events, drama, all that good stuff that you love as an esports fan and I love as an esports media personality because it's great. I get stuff to talk about for an hour each week. It's so much fun. It's fantastic. Tonight's show, we will be talking about Apex Legends, its up-and-coming Battle Pass, the dodgy things going around with its new hero/legend, the Battle Pass itself, as well as talking about the growth of the game. We're going to be looking at the Dota 2 Stockholm Major, as the group stage is looking to begin at the end of this week. We'll be going into all the upsets and all the events of Overwatch League from this week. And I'm going to answer the question, why esports needs to learn lessons from sports to be able to grow and to be able to continue to be prosperous in the world. Remember, if you can't make it to the live show, you can always check out the video on demand 24 hours later, 8 PM on explosionnetwork.com or youtube.com/explosionnetwork or any good podcasting services to hear just the sound of my beautiful voice without having to look at my face. I hope you've had a good day. I've had a pretty damn good day. I've had a pretty good week. Testing out all kind of new tech for gaming. I just bought the new Razer wireless Mamba mouse, which has been quite fantastic. And it's actually interesting to see a wireless gaming mouse that doesn't actually drop any kind of performance while I'm playing so far. It's been really good. It's a really nice sized mouse. Not too heavy, not too light. The only problem I have with it is, I guess it's a superficial one that I miss the RGB. There's a little bit less RGB around the sides, around the edges. Not quite as good. Not quite as nice. Let's jump into it with Apex Legends. Now, Apex Legends has stormed onto a position of prominence after its release earlier in the year by Respawn. Now, thank you, Jaden. Sorry, everybody, but Jaden in chat, just beautifully, just thank you. I know my face is great, but Apex Legends really sprung onto the stage and really took the spotlight away from the juggernaut that is Fortnite, in causing Fortnite to have quite a decline in its player base and quite a decline in its overall presence on the gaming scene as well as esports scene. Fortnite is still a huge game, don't get me wrong, but I guess the appeal of Apex Legends being a more competitive shooter with a more adult fan base really lured away that heavy adult kind of gaming community away from Fortnite and put it into Apex, leaving a lot of the younger audience still for Fortnite to continue to grow on, but that older fan base that it probably makes up the majority of gamers has managed to move its way to Apex, and Apex has really strove in this manner. They've continued to release really good content. They have really well fleshed out the 8 characters that are already in the game. Their loot system is really well done. They have great skins in the game. So fans were, of course, excited for the future of the game, for what content they were going to develop and what they were going to get next in Apex. And for me, I was really interested in this. And this leads to the data miners of Reddit going ham at everything in the game and all the code. I guess for many people, it is not common to know about data mining. Data mining is when people jump into the code of a game to dig for more information, because for a lot of times, a lot of developers have a lot of things planned in the future, but they're hidden in the code of the game for when they're testing. So data mining finds that code and manages to bring surface. That, mixed with a bit of leaks here and there, allows us to get information about games before the developers are entirely ready to release it. And that's what happened recently with the new Legend being leaked, either through a rumored housemate of a Respawn developer or through data mining. We got this happy chap Octane up here. there's a bit of information out there about Octane, which leads me to think when it first came out, okay, maybe this is something. Maybe this is something. And Octane appears to be an adrenaline junkie. He comes with a list of abilities. His passive ability gives him, I think it's while you're moving and you're not taking damage, you're always regaining health. You can take a little bit of damage to give yourself extra, like 30% speed boost for 8 seconds. I think I saw the timer, and as well as you can't be affected by slows during this time, which is a really cool ability. And then he gets like a jump pad, like the jump pads from Fortnite, as his ultimate ability. It's really interesting. It's really great to see more of these high mobility characters in the game. I think the game is heavily conquered by Lifeline being probably the best character in the game, just because the stupid amount of healing that she receives. Many people are shying away from the bigger body characters because of problems with hitboxes, such as Caustic as well as Pathfinder. So to see another character who looks to be a relatively small hitbox. So many people thought, of course, okay, we've got this information now. What's going on? There was then some little hints about a battle pass coming soon, and that battle pass was rumored to be released today. And so many people were excited, but Respawn hadn't said anything. And I think Respawn do this really cool thing of they only really speak when they need to, and they only talk when they have something to say. They're not like a developer that just kind of talks for no meaning or for pointless matters. Which is really good and really, really fucking great, thank God. But that's what we get. That's what we've got this time. And to see that come from Respawn, where Respawn haven't really said much, they've allowed the data mining to go, and then kind of they released a Reddit post that said, released a Reddit post today was put up after a bit of problemos with Origin. The Origin PC client for EA managed to somehow start posting graphics in the dashboard, and the dashboard for Apex was changed to this image of Octane, and there started to be like a notice about you can do more things with your in-game coins now thanks to this, and it was really quite funny. And then that all disappeared really quickly. Obviously somebody from EA went, yeah, let's go, and somebody went, Respawn went, oh shit, don't do that, that's just a rumor, you fucks. So the Battle Pass seems to be held off for now. It should be coming in the next couple of weeks. By the looks of it and from reports, Battle Pass will be about $10. I'm not sure if I was reading that $10 US or $10 Australian, but about $10. So it looks to be the equivalent of whatever the Fortnite pass is going to be. And with that, Respawn have already come out and said that they're going to be making sure that they add more content for the game. So that each battle pass is going to come with it new weapons, it's going to come with a new legend, and it's also going to come with it new skins loot. Overall, I like this. I really hope it doesn't ruin the balance it has with the weapons it already has. I like that it's adding weapons, but I don't want it to get to the point that I've seen Fortnite get to. Fortnite, if you take a month away from that game, or if you look away from that game what feels like a second, all of a sudden there'll be freaking snowboards, like hoverboards in the game, there'll be cars, there'll be bikes, there'll be all sorts of shit that you're like, how? And I get it that adding weapons or adding items to a game will continue to grow its diversity and continue to change up the gameplay for everybody. But I don't think that's really a thing. Like, well, it is a thing, but at the same time, I don't think Apex needs to go to the wacky limits of Fortnite have. I think it'll be good for them if they continue to, if they take the bits of Fortnite that people really like altering the map rather than releasing new maps all the time. Their battle pass is really good and really solid, so yep, take notes from their battle pass. But overall, keep doing what you're doing and keep making sure that the game's balance is really good. And then hopefully Apex can continue to build a really solid esports scene or tournament scene. I've already seen some really good things from ESL and different Australian tournaments putting together Apex tournaments now. One of Fortnite's biggest issues is it is a shit esport. Like, it's not ready to be an esport. There's too much RNG. There's too much wackiness and zaniness now to the items. Some of the items are very weirdly balanced. So I think Apex has the opportunity to strike, and it seems to me Respawn have definitely gone in the right direction, where they have recently banned 350,000 PC gamers and for being cheaters, and that's the most important thing for me, honestly, is that they're actually actively going and banning people for cheating in this game. And it's amazing to see the amount of Twitch streamers or partnered Twitch streamers that are fucking up and not playing the game out, like not playing the game properly, and they're cheating. The amount of videos I see each and every week of an aimbot or of somebody with a wall hack in the game is fucking ridiculous. And I'm really glad that Respawn are taking the measures to move away from that and really push further into that side of the game. It's a fantastic game overall, and they've done a really good job with it so far in its opening month. I really hope it can keep getting better and keep growing, because it's a fucking great game. I'd also like to shout out to Shroud, the former CSGO superstar and pro player, moved on. He's a very popular Twitch streamer. Broke the record for, I think he just broke 100,000 subscribers on Twitch, which is fucking ridiculous, and like 60,000 more than the nearest person. He's been a very active Apex streamer, but sadly he got into a scooter accident or a moped accident, which is taking him out of action from streaming for a little while. So we at the Explosion Network just want to say, get well soon, Shroud. You will be sorely missed in the streaming community, and we really hope you get well soon. Let's move on to some Dota 2 news, with Dota 2 being probably one of the most improved games in esports of recent time, just because of changes that have been made to the game. Dota 2 recently took back its spot as most played game in most played game on the Steam store, which it was for a very long time before it was succeeded like games like Player Unknown Battlegrounds, PUBG, whatever you want to call it. It was dethroned by that for some time, but now it seems to be back on track, which is really positive and really good to see. You get to see Dota 2 change, and it goes through poor metas, as with a lot of things do, where the developer makes a poor update or makes a poor change that really alters and affects what's going on in the game. But Valve seem to be a bit more switched on lately, with all the game's mechanical changes that have been made seem to be very positive. The pro scene is very healthy. And it continues to rise with the Dota 2 pro scene major and minor system, where instead of just having 4 major events a year, they're having major events, but then also leading up to that major event, having a minor that people can play through, and the winner of that minor gets entered into the major as another chance or another opportunity to qualify. And to see that with the incoming Dream League Dota 2 Stockholm Major, it's really exciting. It's really good, and it's fun to see that. We get to see the progress of it with all the groups now, the teams now qualifying for that. We had Vici Gaming winning the minor, so they managed to clinch that final spot in the major. And now we get the groups released, and it's going to be an interesting weekend. The groups do start in a couple of days. I believe it's March 14th, which I believe in Australia would be March 15th. It's going to be an interesting set of games and a really fun time. I'm really excited to see exactly how this goes and exactly where this goes within the Dota 2 world. Group A is just the group of death. To have Team Secret and Team Liquid, probably two of the best teams in the world, being in that group alone is fucking insane. We didn't expect to see them until much later in the tournament in the Swiss section, but we're going to be having them playing off to fight it out for the top spot in that group clearly, as well as, so that'll be seeing, I think. I'm interested by Team Secret and Team Liquid. They're both really amazing teams. Team Liquid has looked super solid since Miracle's been back playing with them again, but I think Team Secret is still this juggernaut that's just going to charge through and really make a massive difference in the tournament and really make a massive difference in that group. Virtus Pro look to be having a quite easy fight through, as well as eHome. But what I will say, especially with the current Dota 2 meta, is that don't be surprised if there are some shakeups. Don't be surprised if there are some teams that have a very interesting development to them, or I guess if they are going to upset some people, because the current meta of Dota is it really allows for upsets to happen, for teams to play well. With teams like Mineski having their new team captain as Pylai Dai, which really fulfills their roster and really continues to grow their hero pool. It's fantastic to see. You've got a whole range of teams fighting it out for those top spots, and I think it's the coolest shit about Dota is seeing that and seeing how they've developed their pro scene and seeing how they develop their game to impact and influence their pro scene is really fantastic and really good to see. Overall, I'm expecting Team Secret to win. I believe Team Secret could be very easily the overall winners of the major, especially for 2019 for this major and coming into the international. They just look way too fucking strong. They just look really like they just seem to be unstoppable. Like, even Virtus Pro were giving them a tough time until the last couple tournaments. Virtus Pro'd all over the place, and they just seem to not be able to clinch it in the most important moments. And we are getting to the point of the year where Virtus Pro are strong. Every year about this time, Virtus Pro will start taking out tournaments for no reason, leading up to the international. They get to the international and they will shit the bed. They will do really poorly. And I'm really interested to see if that trend continues this year. And I think there's got to be a lot for Team Secret. Team OG have just parted ways with their carry player once again. And they will be announcing their new carry player or their new member of their roster in the coming days. For Team OG, I'm really hoping that Ana returns to that fucking roster, because that roster never seems to be complete without him. Not because he's just a carry, but they work so well around him. And that is the squad that won TI8. So who wouldn't want to see that team running around, causing a muck, causing a mischief in the Dota 2 scene? Am I right? Well, if you don't know, I'm a wee bit of an Overwatch League fan. I fucking love Overwatch League. Now, Overwatch League has had a fantastic opening 4 weeks of its time, and it's led to us having amazing moments throughout the whole year. It's led to a lot of fun in the Overwatch scene. So, this week was no surprise. Well, it was a surprise when the Chengdu Hunters took on the Vancouver Titans in the final game for the week, and for most people believed it was just going to be 4-over to the Titans. The Chengdu Hunters came to play, and boy oh boy did they look really fucking good.
Supposed to be a heavy lifter in that particular regard. In overtime now, Janu's mech. It's gone. There's an armor drop down on the pile driver, and a Dragon Strike that doesn't quite clear the payload in the way that Jimmy would have liked. Still, Janu's missing. Amon just has to keep himself on the payload, try and stay around for as long as he can. Bacon Jack is back up to his safe little perch, but he's going to be chased down by Bumper, who does not want to give him Rain of the Skies. But Elsa right now is controlling the payload. Slime has to step up, takes damage, gets a repair pack, goes back inside the saloon. Going for a cold pipe perhaps, but there's still Overwatch to be played. Bumper gets another nano boost, but he actually combines that with his own primal rage, and a great transcendence from Kyo to prevent the Hunters from being taken down by that crap. Huxel now trying to dance up on the payload. He's down to low, and Slime is trying to keep him alive right next to him. It's not going to work out. Jinmu finally falls on the higher ground. The Titans are working their butts off to try and deal with these snipers, but Slime falls. They're running out of supports and healing in general. Bumper steps forward, but he's so low. It's self-destruct now. Janu trying to step up, should I say. Somitsu is the final hope for the Vancouver Titans. Everything being pinned on him, but it ain't enough.
Now, just the sheer difference of power of the Titans going into this game seemed like it would be too much for the Chengdu Hunters to handle. But Chengdu are this team that just don't play anything fucking normal. Well, that's what we thought. That's what the league thought until this game. And then it got to the second map with Hollywood, with Chengdu really throwing the Titans off their game with their wacky DPS comps, with their unorthodox playstyle. And this continued up into the next match, Temple of Anubis, where the team that didn't play Reinhardt started playing Reinhardt to an elite level, beating one of the best Reinhardts in the game. This match did go all the way to 5 maps, and it did end up with the Vancouver Titans continuing their winning streak. But overall, people are amazed that the Chengdu Hunters were able to clinch this game out and really fight to prove themselves in the Overwatch League, considering many analysts and reporters and media members and the general community had written them off. They've got a fun play style to watch, but it doesn't really work in the current meta of Overwatch. I was going to say Dota 2. So let's check out all the games and go over all the results for the week. The week kicked off with my favorite fucking result for the week. Let's go. The Los Angeles Gladiators 4-0'd the Atlanta Reign. Gladiators just seem to come out firing all cylinders. They've had some team problems with communication issues, with Decay coming in. And boy, oh boy, did that just seem to disappear. Decay and Raw seem to finally get their synergy back together. Big Goose was popping off and not getting picked off early. The whole team seemed to be really well-oiled machine. Hydration managed to stop feeding his life away. And so the LA Gladiators started living up to the hype they had earlier in the season and showing why they are a top 10 team. The LA Valiant played the Philadelphia Fusion, and the LA Valiant continued their slow, meteoric crash to the ground. They took on the Philadelphia Fusion. This game went 3-2 to the Philly Fusion. 3-2. This is the crazy thing about Valiant, right? They're currently considered as probably the worst team in the league because they're the first team to go 0-7. But they keep taking these top tier teams to 5 games. That's Philadelphia Fusion, who aren't that top tier. They're kind of shit, in my opinion. NYXL, the Spark, when they were actually playing well, like, these teams keep going. So, obviously, there is something at Valiant not going right. You could see the obvious frustration on its players through its player cams throughout the whole event. And that's not good. It's really not great. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable to see that. And they do have a solid team. And then there's just rumors flying around of there being team cohesion problems. If the team's not working well together, why the fuck they're not putting Custer in. It's really strange. And we'll talk a bit more about the LA Valiant in a moment. That continued with Toronto Defiant 3-1ing the Chengdu Hunters. As I've already talked about the Hunters in the future, the Hunters that go 5 games with the Vancouver Titans, Toronto Defiant seemed to have the Hunters worked out. They played really well against it. They did lose the one map in the series, but the rest of the maps they seemed firmly in control. The Paris Eternal continued once again their fall from grace. I think many people thought this team were a top 3 team, and I thought they were a top 3 team, but they hadn't really shown themselves. Going into week 4, they still had 4 games to play. With the first one coming up against the Vancouver Titans, the Titans absolutely bodied them, and Paris really did not look like a team that should be even in this league, or in this, like, in the same, like, sentence as the Vancouver Titans. And many people thought they were. So this game was in many ways a bit of a disappointment, and a show that the Paris Eternal really need to get their shit together. The New York Excelsior 4-0'd the San Francisco Shock. And no matter what, so the first game, Paris Eternal, Vancouver Titans, that was a fucking domination. That was an absolute domination by the Titans. This game was super close, and it's sad that it says 4-0. Like, there should have been a 5-map game. The San Francisco Shock really took it to New York Excel, but in those last fights or in the clutch moments, Excel just seemed to come out a little bit ahead. So it's a good starting point for Shock. They've got a good place to build on. The Dallas Fuel 4-0'd the Shanghai Dragons. This shows a really good development and continuation of coaching and practice by the Dallas Fuel. After going 5 maps last week, very luckily, thanks to a Charlie Niner, as they call it in the business, from Shanghai Dragons, Dallas Fuel managed to absolutely stomp this game. RCK looked amazing. They looked really solid at shutting down Ding Sombra that was giving them so much problems, and they seemed really solid. To see them play the same team 2 weeks in a row, learn from the first win, and then smash them the second time is really, really good. Now, Sunday, March 10th, beginning with the LA Valiant having their hopes resting on this one game. Can they be 1-6? Can they avoid being 0-7 and instantly creating a meme out of their own slogan? Sadly not. The Houston Outlaws took the game 2-1. It was 2-1 is such a shit score because it means there was a draw in there, and just 2-1 against the Houston Outlaws that don't even look that good. is not good. It's not great. So LA Valiant become we are 0-7. Valiant have got some troubles ahead of them, and I don't quite think the changes that they make or have made already are enough. The Seoul Dynasty 3-1 the Washington Justice. It's really interesting to see that Justice is this team that keeps taking maps off people that it really shouldn't. Like they're this bottom tier team that all 8 of its players are in the bottom 10 of players with eliminations for the whole fucking Overwatch League. And to see them take a map off Seoul Dynasty is crazy. They continue to take maps off people. They're still looking for that elusive win. I think they're going to get it, though, in the coming weeks. The Guangzhou Charge took on the LA Gladiators, and after losing the first map, the Gladiators came out and said no. And they came and destroyed the next 3 games. And they look like a really solid fucking team. They look really fucking good. I was super pumped to see the LA Gladiators play like this. And to go from the problems they were having to this is such a big change around. It really does show that they deserve to be a top 10 team. Toronto Defiant 3-0 against the Hangzhou Spark. The Spark are not looking good. Spark are looking really rough. They seem to have these awesome highs and then these shitty lows where they just can't perform. They've decided on Gushue being their main tank, which is a good thing, but then the team doesn't seem to be adapting to playing around him in certain games. In other games, they play around him really well. In other games, they make him look like a bot because he makes stupid decisions and the team doesn't back him up. So it was a rough start. Monday, March 11th, we had the San Francisco Shock take on the Paris Eternal. Paris Eternal didn't win until the last map, where Shock probably took their foot off the gas just a little bit, but the San Francisco Shock absolutely bodied them. It was a really, really hard fought game for the Shock, and they showed that they are a top tier team. They are in that top 4, top 5 teams, and they deserve to be a lot higher than they actually are currently in the league. London Spitfire is 3-2. They lost to the Shanghai Dragons. Spitfire, who the fuck knows? Dragons had such a hype moment. Like, they were so fucking hype. I think this game and so both the Dragons games had fucking hype moments in it. Like the end of this map was fucking amazing, and the very first round of Nepal had the most hype fight I've ever witnessed in Overwatch League. It was really good. The Boston Uprising fucking bodied the Florida Mayhem. Florida, what are you doing? Florida proved the theory wrong. A lot of people meme or say the theory is, if you want to be a good team, fill your team with Koreans. Florida filled their team with Koreans. Not good. They're having problems. They're now bringing in Western players like McGravy and applying to the roster to change it up, and it just doesn't seem to be working out. And then I've already talked about the glorious Vancouver Titans and the Chengdu Hunter match. That if you've got time to watch any Overwatch this week from last week that you missed, go check it out. So look at the standings overall. The old standardinos. So for stage 1 so far, I believe it's anywhere below this. So if you're 3 and 4, so anywhere below Gladiators, you have missed the stage playoffs. So they will not be making the stage playoffs. Any of these teams, if you're 3 and 4, I think Paris have an opportunity, but I don't think they will. So we will have. So we've got London Spitfire, who have 1 to play. They are 3 and 3. So all these teams are kind of tied up for the end. And so we've got Houston Outlaws in contention with 1 to play. Dynasty 1 to play. All these teams have 1 to play. So I'm interested to see where they go. I think it's either it's between Charge and Boston. I think Boston could squeak in for playoffs. Would be really interesting. Shock are pretty safe. I think everybody's pretty safe, except for Atlanta's still got 2 games to play. So this could be interesting. So Atlanta still have 2 games to play. I'd like to know what they're. So they've still got 2 to get played. Dallas have got 1. A lot of teams so if they win this 4-0, so if the Vancouver Titans win 4-0, they take the stage. Like they'll finish the stages first. Well, not 4-0. They just need to win 3 maps. They just need to win 3 maps, I think, is all they need to do. So they need to be 23. And yeah, they just need to be 23 here. And they take the top spot. Toronto Defiant have already secured themselves a spot. So these top 3 teams are going to be in your playoffs. These 3 teams have an opportunity to still fucking suck. So one loss won't make a big difference. The Atlanta Reign, I'm actually super interested in. Who have they got? We'll look at that in a bit. So some big changes that happened this week in Overwatch League. So the LA Valiant, the team that went 0-7, as I've already mentioned, dropped their head coach Moon, who had done a fantastic job last season, and it's really weird. And it lends itself to a point I'll make later, but it's a traditional coach, like a sport thing where they just drop the coach. But the LA Valiant are in a really bad position at the minute, where they are 0-7. They have to win the next stage pretty good to make sure they still have a chance to make the overall playoffs at the end of the season. They're already teetering at the point where they could fuck it up and not get anywhere near playoffs, or knock them out of playoffs contention in a really quick time. So, which isn't very good. Isn't that good to see? But so they've dropped Coach Moon, and this is a very interesting choice of. So, is the coach the problem? And I think the biggest thing of contention that was on Reddit and all over the Overwatch League community was that in a video with the LA Valiant, Coach Moon came out and said that the reason they weren't playing their support player Custer, but instead playing Kuki, who was originally a tank player in the support role for this stage, was that Custer was too smart for his understanding for the GOATS meta was too high for the rest of the team, and the rest of the team could not support him. Which is a fucking, you literally just said this player is too smart to play with the rest of the roster. Sounds fucking dumb. It's actually it's actually ridiculous. I almost said a really bad word. I do apologize. But it's actually ridiculous. It's the stupidest thinking in the world. To see that is really poor and really bad. So it's interesting. I think the team problems, I don't think are just going to be resolved by Coach Moon being removed. I think there needed to be some roster changes made on the Valiant. I think the interesting problem is, or an interesting point is, so the Korean players on Team Valiant, on the LA Valiant, who are Izayaki, Fate, Bunny, Kuki, all came out with tweets of saying they're sad that Coach Moon is going, or he was the best coach, or he was really great with them. And none of the Western players have said anything. And that's really bad, right? That's interestingly bad that you've got a Korean coach leaving and the Korean players are commenting on that departure, but the Western players don't seem to be too phased. That's a bit of a problem. That's a bit of a fuck up, if you don't mind me saying so. Yeah, it's interesting that you would think that, it was interesting to see that. And so that's why I don't think the problems are going to fix themselves at all with this change. I think they could have some hope with a new meta. They could find themselves playing with a better. They had a really rough they had such a rough draw. They had such a hard draw overall. So but they're in a hard group and it's not going to get much easier. So hopefully with a meta change, it helps them. Hopefully the players can band together a bit more and help themselves out. Let's go over some predictions, shall we? Let's go through the schedule for the final normal week of the Overwatch League. Next week there will be playoffs, so we'll go over that there next week. But let's go over the final week and see which games have stakes and which games might not be so important. So thanks to daylight savings, and thanks to there only being 2 days this week, and it's Sunday and Monday. Ugh. Ow. It's fucking gross. It makes me sad. So starting off at 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, Watching Justice will be taking on the Paris Eternal. The Justice this game means something because Paris need to win. I think they can still make it, maybe. They have to go 4-3, and every other team that's currently 3-3 needs to lose. Or I think they just need a better map differential. But so Paris have to win this. London Spitfire, Seoul Dynasty, both teams need to win on this one because this is their final game for the stage, and they're both in the teams that have 3-3 currently. So the first game, Paris Eternal is going to win that, I reckon, unless I think Justice could upset them. But let's go Paris Eternal for the win. Dynasty versus Spitfire. I think Dynasty will eke this one out. Do I? Yeah, I think Dynasty will win that one. The Boston Uprising versus Dallas Fuel. I think Dallas Fuel will win this. I think Dallas Fuel's coaching staff is good enough to manage to pick out and pick apart what makes Uprising so good, or how to disrupt their support of Fusions. Because Big Daddy Fusions really does carry them in a lot of games. Their strategy always seems to be, let's load up Fusions with all like the healing and everything we can do. And then go for gold. So, yeah. But yeah, I think Dallas Fuel is gonna win. Atlanta Rain versus Chengdu Hunters, really important game for the Rain. They need to beat the Chengdu Hunters. They will beat the Chengdu Hunters. Atlanta Rain have shown that they can play some zany shit. So this game will be 3-1, I reckon. And then the Fusion versus Paris Eternal. I think Paris Eternal should win this 3-2. Washington Justice versus Mayhem. Washington will get their first win. Houston Outlaws versus the Atlanta Rain. Atlanta Rain will win that one. Charge versus Titans. Titans will take that one out. So overall, pretty solid 2 days of Overwatch League. Not the most days of Overwatch League in the world, is it? Like, it's kind of a lot, and it's kind of not. And then we've got the stage playoffs, which will be the following week, which is 2 games, 1 game. 2 games, 2 games, 1 game. Daylight savings can fuck right off, though. Honestly, not the greatest shit in the world. Kind of annoying. Playing for $500,000, and we'll do our full predictions for the full bracket. And go over it next week in our Overwatch League segment. If there's any stories you want me to talk about Overwatch League, or if you want any more Overwatch League content, tweet at me at your boy Ringo or at Explosion Pod with your ideas, with your thoughts. I really like talking about Overwatch League. I try not to, like, I could easily talk about Overwatch League for the next half an hour, 45 minutes, 2 years. But I don't want to focus solely on the league. So we'll see. We shall see. Right, let's move on to my question for this week. And I've had this question, like, so if you wouldn't believe it, I'm very passionate about Overwatch League. Like, and not Overwatch League, but esports in general. Like, I really love competitive gaming. I really like watching and playing competitive games. And to see this, to have this question asked of me this week was almost a little triggering. So this week, somebody came out and we were talking about Overwatch, a female Overwatch team that was, instead of giving esports jerseys, were given esports like dresses, like hot dresses. I don't know what they're called, but they were quite clearly designed by a male. They had a zip. They were very tight. Not so great. You can, all female teams can. You should just wear a jersey. You don't need to feminize or sexualize them in any way. Just let them play the game. Fuck. But at the same time, somebody goes, well, I don't think that Overwatch, like, I don't think esports teams need jerseys. Which got to me a bit. I went, what do you mean they don't need jerseys? This person went, oh, you know, like, they're just players. Like, they don't need, it's not like a real sport or anything. They can just go out there in their casual clothes. And it bugged me, this lack of understanding, because I think esports needs to address itself or appeal itself to a very large market. They need to show itself to a wider audience of people. So they need somebody who has no fucking clue about Overwatch or about esports to be able to watch it when it comes up on ESPN or Disney XD, to be able to see the game and be drawn into it and watch it and end up really loving the esport and then buying the game or buying the battle pass or being more involved. So how do you do that? How do you grow your esports and make it accessible to a market that you don't already have access to? You do this by giving your esports characteristics that are familiar in team games. And it started with teams having organizations being team named, and then those organizations getting branding, and then they get sponsorships, and then they get the logos and the team shirts. And the team shirts unify the team a little bit. They make the team look the same. You can tell they're all on the same team. Sweet. You can see that they represent something. And it's a brand or a banner that fans can get behind, that fans can get involved with. That I really fucking love that Cloud9 team. I love the Boston Uprising. I'm an LA Gladiators fan. And so this was very normal in esports, was just having your team jerseys and teams using that to give themselves a bit more profit and sell items of clothing for people to buy, so you can wear that jersey and feel like you're part of the team. You're wearing what that team has. You're showing your support on your body. It's the easiest way for anybody to show their fucking support for the game if they want to give some money back to the team that they love. And Overwatch League continued to develop this idea by adding the city names to the teams. You know, there very well could be just teams called the Uprising, the Hunters, the Dragons, the Gladiators, the Excelsior. Like, you could just have that. But by immediately attaching a country, or not a country, but like a town or a city to that team, you immediately get a fan base. Because fans are more likely to go, oh, and I come from that place. I come from Philadelphia, so I'm gonna be a Philadelphia Fusion fan. And they're gonna, or a French Mon, oh, the Paris Eternal, they will be my team, That was really fucking bad. I'm so sorry, but they will see that in the game, and they will be more likely to go for that team. If you're flicking through ESPN and you see a team name, a town name attached to that team, and you like that town and you like that city, you'll be more likely to go for that team. Feel represented. Feel a part of something. And I think to continue to grow with adding contracts and salaries for their players, adding managers, and having a team's organizational structure and coaching structure around their players, adding stadiums and better looking events and hosts and commentators, cameras and really high level presentation, having music, having everything for these teams. It grows it in the right direction so people understand it, that, oh, this is like a sport. This is like a sport. I understand it now. Like, I get what they're trying to do. So to see that is really fucking interesting. To see how that does is, like the fucking overall is just not, like, it's not the way to be. We went through such a period of time that we didn't overall be fucking, like, overall, we went through this period of time, this dark period of esports, when we were seen to be kind of stinted in our growth and stinted in what we were doing, that we just had these awkward geeks with shitty usernames and no personality, and they had a lot of personality in the game. You get them in the game and they were fucking mad and they were really impressive. But on the outside, if there was a Borderlands League, you would talk about them then. Yes, exactly. I would talk about the Borderlands League. Like, overall, you need to be able to market things. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these leagues are businesses. They're there for the sport. They enjoy the sport, but they want to make some money. They want to make some profit. They want to do something to bring out the best in them. So to see that is really interesting. To see that they're learning from sports and bettering themselves is the greatest. Is the tits. So yeah, it's really fucking good. And so I derailed myself then mentally. I was thinking about so much stuff then of, like, how important it is for esports to grow as a sport, or to grow in its own umbrella of esports. You don't have to think it's a sport. I get it. There's no running involved. There's no physical activity, sure, whatever. But it's of the same mindset of a sport. It brings the same love and passion that watching a sport does. It's interesting. It's great to see, and this is why getting into the Olympics would be such a big thing, because yes, the Olympics is about running, it's about jumping, it's about high-fiving people or whatever, high jumping, throwing shit. But esports elicits such a great fan reaction, makes such a great communities that it's something that should be showcased on the highest level. On the highest level. So, how do they get there? By taking on more aspects of sports. And we're taking on the bad aspects as well by like dropping coaches when the teams are doing shit and blaming it on them. That was my mini rant of that question about why esports needs to be more. Why it needs to take from sport. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Early Late Nights. This has been episode 75 right here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network with me, your host, Ciaran Marchin. If you can join us live every single Wednesday, 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, right here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network, where you can catch the latest week's news on the latest esports, the latest drama from esports, and Ciaran's random ramblings or derailments or just random fucking thought bursts that just explode and he goes on an adventure. Could be fun sometimes. If you can't make it live to the show, that's completely fine. Check it out on explosionnetwork.com and youtube.com/explosionnetwork or any good podcasting services. If you want some fucking great podcasts or some really good gaming and pop culture content, go to explosionnetwork.com. Go visit. Check out what do you want to watch if you like TVs and movies. Go listen to Arcade Couch, where I'm on there sometimes, where I get destroyed by Arcade Couch Ashley Hobley, who's a terrible human being and very different from normal Ashley Hobley. Normal Ashley Hobley is fucking, he's a beautiful human being. Arcade Couch Ashley Hobley, fucking monster. Fucking monster. But we must, sorry, derailed with my about Ashley Hobley. Thank you very much for joining me. Make sure you give us a follow on the Twitch channel. Give us a like, a subscribe, whatever you need to do. Leave a review if you're on the podcast app. Say hi or leave a comment on the video and I'll get back to you throughout the week. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you next week. Enjoy your 2 days of Overwatch League. Enjoy the Dream League Stockholm Dota 2 Major Group event starting this weekend, or the group stage is the right word. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic night. See you later. Always say GG. Don't be toxic. Bye.